you're planning an event, your first question is, do you want media coverage? You don't always have to have media there, but there are times when you really need it there. If you have an issue, you really want to get out there, you have a cause, if you can link your cause to a national event, decide whether you want the coverage. You want the coverage to spark people to action. Are you angry enough about something that you think everyone else should be angry enough and the media needs to know it and help you spread the message? So first of all, decide whether you want that coverage or not, because you don't always need it. Weigh your effort versus your gain versus chances of getting coverage. Media in Portland is hard to work with. That's always been a challenge. If you're in a smaller town, you have a better chance of getting better coverage. But you have to realize that we're on like a 6-hour news cycle. There is so much competition for Portland media. There's just so much out there. You have got to make your event so relevant and appeal, just like we have to cover kind of thing. So weigh the gains of the effort you're going to take to get media coverage, whether it's really worth it. If something big is happening nationally, you want to link into it, and that's where rapid response comes in. You want to link into something big happening nationally because they love local comments on things. When the shooting happened in Florida, the first couple of days there was very little organized, and I couldn't understand why. I was going to go do something, and the woman who was kind of in charge of organizing this didn't want to do anything, and nothing happened. So we finally did organize something. The media were all over it. It took us 2 days. So latch on to a national event that you know they're going to want local comment. What kind of event? Rally, event, or press conference? If you know you can get a crowd, a rally is great. If you don't know if you're going to get a good crowd, a press conference is really good. Because if you say press conference in your press release, they're not going to expect a big crowd. But try to get one, because you can get the crowd standing behind the speakers, in front of the speakers, and look like you really have a lot of interest. But be careful if you call it a rally or a press conference, because if you tell the media you're having a rally, they can easily, they've done this to us, they can drive by and see 10 people, nope, we're not going to cover this. So you kind of be careful discerning it. There's another kind of press release that I've worked with, and that really has good results. It's called an available for comment press release. So if you don't think you have the time or the energy to organize a response or an event, you can put a press release out that says, we are able to comment on the following. And put your press release out and put your contacts out there. Make sure those contacts have some really good titles. We did that with the net neutrality, and we had a couple of really good bites. So that's another way to get attention if you don't think you can get the energy to organize something, but you still want to get your message out there. The thing they emphasize with TV is visuals. If you say in your press release, a picture or something of good visuals, you've got a much better chance of getting TV stations out there. The other thing that they mention, and we all know, is impact. What is the impact on the community? And how many people does it affect? If you can say it's going to affect like 100,000, Portland residents, you've got something to say. So impact, numbers, your visuals. How important is it to the community? There's a conversation going on about it. Again, that's newsworthiness. So those are some things they're going to look for when they decide whether they're going to cover your event. And your press release is an invitation. It's saying, we want you to cover this, and I'm going to make sure that this is so inviting to you, you're going to want to cover it. Some surprises, maybe some surprise statistics. Put some surprises in there. Strong speakers, put your strong speakers towards the front. Action-oriented. Consider music, humor, a list of petitions. I mean, you're going to tell me you've got 5,000 signatures on a petition, and you show the petition. They're going to love to see that. So put some action into it. Plan your title carefully for interest. Plan the location for media access. That's really important. They're going to be more likely to show up at Wyden's office or Murphy's office. We got out than Bonavici's office. It's harder to get to. So plan a location where they're going to try to show up. Plan the time. Okay. Usually they have meetings at 8 a.m. to decide what they're going to cover during the day, and at 3 or 4 p.m., 3 p.m. decide what they're going to cover in the afternoon. Those are really important times for you guys to know, because you want to get a press release out before 8, and then you want a reminder call before 3. Again, try to tie into a community, state, or national event. Message. And I know you have a lot of stuff on messaging today. Decide on your message and keep it really simple. Do not make that message complicated. We did one of our big single-payer rallies. I had every speaker on message. It was awesome. We had every station, newspapers out there. Everyone was on message. And all the coverage, the Republican bills are terrible. We want single payer. So that message is really, really important. And everyone, give notes to your attendees, pass out bullet points, because you never know who they're going to interview. You just never know. So if someone has some speaking points to look at, that's going to help your attendees stay on message. If an attendee shows up with this outrageous sign, they're probably going to get interviewed. So you want them to know what to say. You'd like to at least heavily suggest to them what to say. Have your spokesperson contact people identified. If you know you want the media to talk to 2 or 3 people, head of your organization, have a good story, have those identified and steer the media to them. They'll do that. But then they'll also talk to a person on the street or a random person. Let's see. Find someone who it impacts. This is really important for healthcare. During the Republican bill cycle, we were finding families, people who would be deprived of healthcare. Find people on Medicare. Find people on Medicaid who are really scared of losing it. Find people who are going to be seriously impacted. They love to talk to people who are affected by things. Rehearse your answers to adversarial questions. You never know what they're going to ask you. Talk in sound bites, short sentences, simple, but get your message out there. They're always going to ask you if you have anything more to say. That's when you can think of, what did they ask me that I want to say? And have that in your back of your mind. What things do you want to get out there that they didn't ask? For newspapers, you can ramble a little bit more because the visual media and the radios are going to do sound bites, 30-second sound bites. You want to get that really concise. With the newspapers, you can start expanding and expounding and being more talkative. Hand those key talking points out to the newspapers and TV stations. Send your press release. That's pretty obvious on there. Just send it out a week or 2 prior to your event. Follow your press release with more details. A few days later, keep following it out. Weekends. This is important. Always send it out on Saturday morning and again Sunday morning. They change crews. Make sure you have the title, name, and contact information for the people. Email, title, and phone number. Let's see, the what should be eye-catching, a few sentences, where's it going to be, time, and who. Now, media loves to cover events where lots of who's are involved. So if you can get Indivisible, if you can get Alliance, Main Street Alliance out there, other organizations out there, they're going to be more likely to cover you. They love saying organizations came together. Make sure your message is out there. Why are you doing this? Why is this important? Why do they have to be there? State your visuals, state your speakers, keep it simple and short. You can have a more info section at the end where if you want to put some statistics and cite them all, credible sources, you can do that. So your more info section on the bottom can go into a little more detail. But again, as they told us at Channel 12, and I've always been saying, half a page to 2/3 of a page. They get hundreds of these things every day, and they are not going to read a long one. Always source your statistics. Relationship with the media, you can read through those. Always get cards and names. Reporters have what they call, media outlets have what they call enterprise reporters. Those are reporters who are tasked with going out and finding cool stories. If you look through the Oregonian or any news channel, you'll sometimes call them at-large reporters or enterprise reporters. You want to contact them. They're the ones whose job depends on getting good stories, and they'll want to talk to you. So those are good ones to reach out to. Look through the staff, who covers healthcare. Look through news articles on healthcare, who's covered it. Those are some good ideas of people to add to your media list. The rest you can read through. Also, attend related events. When Measure 101 was going on, I attended some of those events just so I could get reporter cards and also give them information about our event. Just make sure, those are really good ways to get contacts. When you're at your event, have a press packet ready. That's where you put all that information you want to put in the press release, but you couldn't. Arrive early. That's really important because early, they love to come early and interview people. So if you get there early and get a good visual up, you'll get a good interview. Have a point person or two ready to talk. Get your visuals up early. Have your attendees in position to best support you. If you're having a press conference, you want them all on back with signs. The media loves it. It's great visual. Have signs ready. Let's see. Give out talking points to reporters, and always thank your reporters. If they do good coverage, I always call the station and say thank you. They love it. Follow up. by email if you have more information. If they've asked you a question you don't know the answer to, that's really important you get back to them. They really appreciate that. If you didn't get media coverage, don't panic. Send out an event summary with your contact information. Call places like KBOO or KXL or X-Ray and say, hey, we just had this cool event. Can we get someone on to talk about it? Usually they'll say yes. Smaller papers, you can submit your own story, and they love stuff, so they'll fill it. The other thing is, put out a press release afterwards. Put out a follow-up press release available for comment. Therefore, they still know they can talk to you. And if you can make the situation still relevant after the press release or after the event, you might get a phone call to follow up. So don't give up if you don't get any media coverage. The rapid response is basically the same thing. Planning your rapid response, getting it going. Have a rapid response team. How many of you have rapid response teams?
Sort of.
Okay. So one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to stop in a few minutes and let you do some stuff. If your region or your area could get a team together to do rapid response, that would be awesome, because then you can start planning. Who's going to write the press release? Who's going to call the media? Who's going to, contact the speakers? If something happened to our president 45 decides, hey, why don't we just cut out Medicare? And who knows what you can do? You can do anything. You want to be in the streets tomorrow. You want to be in the streets that evening. So you need your rapid response team. You don't know what's going to happen with this president, and you don't know what he's going to do next. So it's really important you get out there, because they're going to be looking for a local response if something like that happens. And it could, David. Yes, it could.
It does.
So that's the important thing with rapid response. Have your team ready. Again, rapid response often is harder to get a whole crowd out, so you might want to look at a press conference. The little hard thing about the press conference is, this is the tricky part, is sometimes the media doesn't all show up on time, so try to stay in your press conference between 1:15 and 1:30. But stay there, because different stations will show up on a rolling basis as they can. You make sure you want to talk to them. So your press conference may become something where you do a press conference and then you sit and wait for more cameras to show up. And do it again, and do it again. Just, do a show for the cameras. We want them to air your stuff.
Lisa,
Yeah.
just emphasizing that, what I've noticed is there are a lot of times when a TV crew will come out and take a couple shots and then take off. And the reporter from the station might stay there longer, but a lot of times you just have, there's a couple shots and then they're gone. So.
Yeah, and then one important little short story about that is we did the big gun violence thing over at, when Walden appeared with the NRA. We had a crowd of like 40 or 50 of us out there. And everyone decided to go home. I knew 2 TV stations were still out there. I convinced a small group of people to stay, and we got covered. And of course, we were the ones who got the news. So a small group of us who stayed the extra half hour, and everyone else was out there for 2 hours waving signs. So yeah, that's a really important point. Sometimes they'll take pictures and go away. So make sure you have people who are willing to stay in the background for those pictures. Any other questions or anything? You can read through the rapid response things. I have a worksheet I gave out also if you want to spend a few minutes. Create a rapid response plan for your local region. You can do this together now or later. Some steps you will need. Why are you planning the event? Why do you want media present? What other organizations do you want? And have those ready. Have them ready to go. I have the phone number of working families in my phone. I have some of the indivisible leaders in my phone. I got some of the other healthcare groups in my phone, knowing that we're going to have some event. I'm going to call them. I'm going to get a speaker. Have those people connect with them connect with them beforehand. What's your message? That's important. Keep it simple. How will you spread the word? How are you going to get the word out? There's where your social media is going to come in. That's where your phone's going to come in. Whatever. And who will do the following? And make sure you have people tasked with this beforehand. Right? Press release, media contact media before or after the day of. Listing calendars. If it's a pre-planned event, you want it in all the calendars, so it's usually a 2-week notice. Write up a press packet, and then what's your event follow-up plan? So that's just a little thing you can fill out and use when you're planning for rapid response or even for any events. Is there any questions?
So I just want to add to that if you send out a press release or have some, especially send a press release and you don't see any press coverage of it, don't get discouraged, because sometimes what you're doing is building that background base for the reporters. And so sometimes it's just as important to remember that you're providing information to the reporter that they may use in a future story.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I've had calls from reporters saying, I have your name on file as. So that's what will happen, is they will have your name on file and someone to talk to if they want to do a story about it.
I have a question. This is from the other end. In your opinion, what's the most reliable way for us to find out if there's a rally going on in downtown Portland in 2 days? So often, I find out about these things by seeing the news on prime stations or after the fact.
So if you think a rally might be happening, the way I usually do is I Google the subject, like gun violence rally Portland, or Medicare rally Portland. That's one way to find things. The other way is you can call a TV station and ask if they have any news about it, and they'll tell you if they know. Yeah.
I have a response to that. If you're in the Portland metro area, there are 3 calendars that are pretty good. One is, I think it's called the Activist Calendar, and let's see, one you could find through the Alliance for Democracy website. Another one you could find on the Portland Mercury website, that's the Activist Calendar, and then Cable Community Calendar. Those are 3 calendars that update things regularly, and there are tons and tons of events all the time.